Alright, the next we're going to see is we're going to see a form which has two inputs. Let's say one a checkbox and one is a number field. And then how do we operate and how do we handle change on one of the two so that the values always get updated, and when we submit the form we can see what the values are going to be. Okay, so let's just create a new component. I'm going to use the same class tag. Let's copy this and let's just put it here, and let's say this is reservation. So let's say you want to invite someone to a party and you have to check if someone is going and the number of guests that they are bringing in. So let's just say constructor. So one is going, and the value you can say yes, or you can just do a true, whatever you wish to. So let's just say it is true. And number of guests. So number of guests, let's say we start with a number 2. So if you want to increase it, they can increase it. If they want to reduce it, they can reduce it. Now let's just go and put the render method in. So render return so now you have the return. Let's just make sure we give the form tag because that's what everything has to be in form. Let's also give the on submit is equals to this dot handle submit. Let's just give a label to the checkbox that we're going to put in. So label slash label, and let's say are you going for the party, and then let's give the input field which is input type is equals to checkbox, and on change we call this dot handle input change. Again, these methods are not yet defined and we will be defining these methods as we go ahead. So we will call handle change. Of course you can split this into multiple lines logically. So you have an input, you have a type, and let's say you want this to be a name equals to is going. Okay, so that it's consistent, and of course the value is equals to this dot state dot is going. So whatever is the value that we selected, and it was true initially, so the checkbox will be checked. And as this is a checkbox, this has to be checked field. So checked, this dot state is going. Let's go and create the other one, which is the number of elements. So let's say input, how many guests will you bring? How many guests will you bring? And then we can just say number of guests, and this is a type of a number, so you know that's a number. The value is going to be, in this scenario, number of guests, and initially it goes to the same one. Let's just quickly create these two methods, which is first bind them. So let's bind them to this is equals to this dot bind, and then this. Similarly, let's also create this dot handle submit, just in case if we submit the form, this has to be taken care to. Dot bind this. So in this example I've been coding a lot, but you see the point that there's a lot to write in. Now we will try to use the reservation form up on the content and see how we can display it. So let me just give an HR here so that it separates us from the other components. Reservation, and we should see a horizontal line and the entire form to be displayed onto the screen, unless there is an error. We can go and check what the error is. Cannot read property of null and cannot read property bind of undefined. Fantastic. Let's go down. Reservation input change. Okay, because we haven't defined the methods yet, so let's just do that. So we have this, we also have the handle submit, Now that we have the methods, let's save it. And the page should refresh and the form should show up. You can see that. So are you going yes, no? Let's also give a BR tag here because we want them to be on the separate lines. So we have a checkbox and we have the input field, and that's a number, of course. Now we need to make sure that whenever we pass in something, we pass the event. Now when I click this and I do this, the handle input change will be called. So the first thing that we are going to do is get the target. So how we get it? Let's say we have a constant target is equals to e.target. So this will give me what target has the change, or whether it's the input field or whether it's the checkbox. Now when we have the target, we can just quickly check what is the value by doing target dot checked, or rather we can just do a target dot type is double equals to checkbox. So if the type is a checkbox, then you get target dot checked, otherwise you get a target dot value. So that will give you the value of that particular input that has changed, either the checkbox or the particular input field. Now once you get the value, you just need to do a this dot. Let's get the name also. So let's do a constant name, which is the name of the field, and you can easily get that by target dot name. Let's do a console dot log, print out the name, the value, so that we know that we are updating or getting the correct elements. So I go here, let's go here, let's just do uncheck. So is going becomes false. Similarly, let's increase the value to 3, 4, 5, and of course the value is not getting updated because we have it hard coded. So it gets replaced with the state every time the components re-renders. Even though the console shows it goes to 3 multiple times, it reverts back to 2 because we are setting the state, we are setting the value from the state, which is number of guests, and this value never gets updated because it's initialized to 2. So anytime the value changes, it goes and re-renders it. Fantastic, we got the name of the field and we got the value of the field. So all we need to do is set the state accordingly. So let's do a this dot set state, and now there is a very awesome way of setting the state. Because this is more like a JSON object itself, you can do is pass in the name and then set the value to be value. Let's try to do this and see if the value persists. The page refreshes, we go this as uncheck. Let's just go uncheck and the false retains. Let's increase the value to 3, 4, 5 and 6. So the value is now retained. So this is a very good example where you had multiple fields, which is a checkbox and an input on a form, and you need to make sure the input changes are correctly updated in the state. Now this being said, you can create these as separate components, just like we created this component. You can reuse this reservation component anywhere on your website where you want to. Easy, isn't it? And of course we can directly update the input, which is e dot, let's first say prevent default, so that nothing happens. And you can of course either do an alert saying number of I will be going, and you can say yes or no. So plus this dot state dot is going plus, let's give a space, I will bring number of guests. So let's say space this dot state dot number of guests. So this has to be number of guests. Okay, I will bring X number of guests. I'm not typing in anything more because I think that's good enough. And whenever you have to submit it, you need to make sure you have an input which is of type submit. Type is equals to submit, value is equals to submit. Let's save it. And of course you can see there is a small warning which is expected triple equal to got double equal to, That's out here. So where we compare the checkbox, we can quickly make it a triple equal sign. So that warning should go away. They want it to be a very well typed comparison. Okay. So now I just do a submit by default, and you should see I will be going true. I will bring 2. Right. Now if I change the value to 3 and submit, I should see 3. Easy, right? So that's a very good example of forms. Do practice this and probably try to implement your own version of the forms. If not, hit me up in the Q&A section. I'll always be there to help you. And of course, I'll see you in the next class.